Hey, Jim.
Hey there, Jim, Smoky Lake Maple Products. We are with our friend and fellow maple syrup producer Larry today, and he has a lot of sap. He has about 2,300 gallons of sap and maybe a couple hundred more gallons coming. So all the stainless steel tanks are full there, and in this trailer we have 2 totes that are mostly full. So a total of about 2,300 gallons, and Larry has a high production evaporator, but it's just getting to be some long days and a lot of firewood being used, and now he's got more sap than he normally has. So today we brought MemPro 350H reverse osmosis system. We're just starting to set it up now, but we're gonna turn his 2,300 gallons of sap down to hopefully somewhere around 400 to 500 gallons of concentrate. So he only has to boil for a period of maybe 5 hours or so today. So we're gonna have a lot of fun, and we're gonna start connecting the machine right now. We can connect the hoses. So Larry wants to pull his raw sap out of this tank first. Feed line here. Very important. Always have some kind of a screen filter on your raw sap line. In this case here we have this screen ball on there. You never want to operate your RO without some kind of a screen to take out the larger particles. The reason for that is the high pressure pump here. This is a vane pump. It is not able to pass solids. It's a vane pump that's somewhat fragile. There's graphite veins in there that can chip and break, and you start losing productivity with your pump. Anything like a beetle or a fly or anything like that can cause problems with that. So always have that screen on there. So we're going to connect our raw sap line here. I'm working with only 1.5 hands here, but
Yeah.
The green represents your raw sap. So the green connects there.
Those are just cam locks?
Yeah, they're just plastic cam locks, yep. Our concentrate, red represents concentrate. Blue represents fresh water, in this case Permeate. And these connect over here. There's really no way to connect these improperly. There's only one way this goes together. So I'm going to connect our Permeate here.
Blue to the blue. Oh, they're both blue.
Okay, but this one has the red marking on it.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to connect our concentrate there. All right.
Where are those connected? Oh, these are connected to the back of the machine here. The blue hose will drain into a permeate tank, while the red hose will drain into a concentrate tank. Permeate will be saved for cleaning at the end of the process, while the concentrate is actually what we're going to be boiling later on.
So here, that's our soap filter. I'm going to hold on to that. I'm going to use that later today. We're going to put that back in place. But we're preparing right now for running raw sap. This machine has been used several times, and every time we're done with it, we do a wash cycle, and then we run a whole bunch of permeate through it. And then that permeate is what sits in the machine until we're ready to use it again during the season. So I'm going to take that filter out. We're putting that in here, and we're going to use that later on today. Put a brand new filter in. I'm going to dump this out. This is just Permeate that's in here. Everything's very fresh. Everything smells odorless. It's perfect. And that's how it should be sitting. But it's important to start with a brand new filter every single day.
That's for you, dear.
Okay. Now we have a new filter in place, and everything's ready to go. All of our valves are closed. We're going to do a startup in just a little bit. And like I said before, the machine is full of Permeate from last time we used it. So what we're going to do when we start the machine, the pump is generally self-priming. If the pump happens to be completely dry, we may have to add some sap into the line to get it going, but generally that's not an issue. So we'll see what happens here. The machine has been sitting for about 2 weeks. Angela and I, our season ended about 2 weeks ago. That was the last time the machine was used. So it's set with Permeate until today for about a 2-week period. If this pump happened to drain out, then we'll show you how to get it going again. But shouldn't be an issue. It generally does start all on its own. So what we're going to do is we're going to hold the the start button in until the recirculation pump starts, and then you'll see the second light come on. When I hold the button in, it's hard to see in the sunlight, but this light comes on, all right? When the recirculation pump starts, you'll hear it start up, and then you'll also see this light come on. Then you can let go of the button. It's going to run on its own until it senses that it's out of sap or it's starting to suck air. So, like I said, this machine's full of permeate. There's no point in putting permeate in our concentrate tank. That's not what we're here for. So, I'm going to take the line, take the concentrate line out of our concentrate tank for now, and I'm going to do multiple hydrometer tests on this liquid coming out of here. Once I see that we have somewhere around 2% sugar, we'll start saving it in this tank. But at first, we're going to see nothing but raw water coming out of here because that's what's in the machine. So we're going to flush the machine out with Larry's sap. So let's get going. We should see sap, and we do. We see sap entering the high pressure pump. So priming will not be an issue today, as it generally isn't during the season. Keep in mind, we're always there. It started on its own now. So we have our permeate going in here, and we're going to start doing adjustments. We're going to concentrate as far as we can today. We don't ever want to exceed 225 psi on this gauge right here. And it's going to take a little bit for us to get there. I'd be very surprised if we saw any sugar in here yet. And there's nothing. There's 0% sugar coming out of our concentrate line because it is just permeate coming out. It tends to get foamy because there's air that got into the system here, so it's going to look foamy for the first 5 to 10 minutes from my experience. Pretty soon we're going to see some sugar coming out.
Is this process done every time you fire up?
Yeah. There's probably a more scientific way of doing it. We could probably figure out how many gallons we have to run out.
Yep, right here.
Yep.
Just coming.
Just starting to get some sap. We probably have less than 1% so far. So pretty soon we're going to start saving it. Really soon we're going to start saving it because it tends to come on kind of fast. Yeah, we're at 1% there, not quite.
Will the foam affect the hydrometer readings since it's less dense?
It tends not to. I mean, it still floats at nothing.
Right at 1, right?
We're at 1% right now. And that's up to Larry, I guess, when he wants to start saving it.
I've done it before in my life.
I tend to, on my own sap, I normally go until I have 2%, and I think, well, I boiled that for 10 years, why not start saving the 2% sap? And we're there now. So we're at a good 3%, it looks like. You can even save that for a second there. Make sure your valve is closed.
Yeah, that's been a nightmare.
So our last reading, you saw it jump from about 1% sugar to about 2.5% sugar. That's good enough. So let's start saving it.
So we're ROing now.
We are ROing. Yeah, we are treating it with a reverse osmosis. I bet if we did another hydrometer test now, we'd probably be at 4%, and maybe we should do that. Yeah, I tend to let my hydrometer cup just hang here at this point. And the foam is starting to disappear, you see. We are at about 5.5% already. I always run mine full concentration. I get as much water out as I can. The machine is not to exceed 225 psi. That's what the whole plumbing system was designed for, maximum of 225 psi. By maximizing our pressure here, we're maximizing our sugar content. We're getting as much sugar out of our sap as we possibly can. Yeah, pretty soon we're going to see that hydrometer floating beyond what the scale of that hydrometer can read even. Probably our next test. So I'm going to watch this gauge all day. I'm going to make sure that it's not exceeding 225, not by more than a couple psi anyway. I'm going to keep it very close to that because we want to make as short of work for the evaporator as possible.
And what's creating that pressure?
The high pressure pump here is what's pressurizing the system, and it's a high efficiency pump, so we're putting virtually no heat into the sap, which is one of the claims of fame for the MemPro Tech unit.
So unlike a filter press, it's not caused by like the filter is starting to clog or something like that. It's
well, what we're doing is this valve right here is dictating how much sugar is, how much liquid is forced through the membrane. So that's what's developing the pressure. I'm controlling that. I want as much pressure as I can because that tells me there's more permeate leaving and less sugar. So
okay.
And you can see our pressure did go up slightly. I'm going to adjust that down. If you want to look real closely there, we're currently at about 230 psi. That's probably not bad, but I'm going to back it off ever so slightly. So you can see I have ultimate control of that pressure. Let's keep it right at 225. And you can see our flow meters. The permeate is passing about 3 1/4 gallons per minute here. And the concentrate, we're only getting about 1 3/8 gallons per minute.
And it makes sense that you'd have less concentrate than permeate.
That's what we're here for, yeah. So here, this is interesting. Look at how much raw water is leaving the system. This is nothing but water. Look at that steady stream of water leaving. That's all water that Larry does not have to evaporate today. That's a lot of water. And you'll see later how pure and beautiful it is. Larry has a good idea here. Let's make sure that this is water.
Waste no water.
Yep. Let's give you a good rinse.
Yep. Is it the bottom?
Tenths. A couple of tenths of sugar. One maybe.
There should be absolutely no sugar.
Rub it.
That's more like it.
Boy, if there's any in there, it ain't much.
Yep. It's right at the 0. That's where you want it to be. Yeah. About 9. Now that it's settled, we're at about 9. I think we'll see that go up past 10 yet today because Larry does have pretty sweet sap going in. Larry has about 3.1% sap. I think we're going to see our concentrate coming out closer to 11 here within the next probably 10 minutes or so.
So if you were to start with sweeter sap, then you get even sweeter concentrate?
That's correct, yep. Because the RO is, you're getting more sugar out of it. There's more to be had.
Would it make sense to send the concentrate through a second time?
You sure can. If you really want to squeeze the water out, you can concentrate again, and maybe again. So you can see this is our concentrate coming out. It's a steady stream, but it's not a high volume stream. Compared to our permeate, the raw water that we don't have to evaporate. Look at how high volume that stream is. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. And it's even more beautiful in another half hour when you can see your permeate tank filling really quickly and you can hardly even see anything in the concentrate.
This is a pump too, isn't it?
Yep, that's the recirculation pump. So you see what that does, Larry? It's pulling sap from here.
Oh, just shooting it back.
Yeah, at a super high volume though.
Yeah. Also a horse and a half.
Is it?
Yeah, so now you're looking at
looks like a small motor for a horse and a half.
might be more RPM to go at that. 3450. I don't know what that one is. You can see it on the other side.
Yeah, that's a bigger motor too. Sure.
It's bigger physically, but that could be a 1740. You see, to get a horse and a half, it must be twice the motor.
As you can see, that tank is filling just about full now. We've processed a total of about 500.
Oh, it is full.
We've processed just over 400 gallons of sap so far, and the RO unit is slightly less efficient with this cloudy late season sap. It's less efficient than it is with our early season sap, which we were running a couple of weeks ago. So we have more concentrate than I'm used to. I'm used to having a tote completely full of permeate and maybe about a foot of sap in the concentrate tank. So this cloudy late season sap is proving to be a little bit less efficient in the machine, which is obviously very normal.
Earlier I heard them say something about the temperature of sap going through an RO. Does that matter?
Yeah, the warmer the sap is, the more efficiently the RO could work.
What's going on, Jim?
Well, we're just about out of sap in this tank. That tank is empty and we're actually using it for permeate storage now. This tank is going to be empty in about a minute here. Just going to show the procedure on moving our draw tube from one tank to another. This tank we already emptied. This tank is nearly empty. As you can see, we're putting permeate back in here now just to store it. That's the tank we're going to draw out of next. So do you hear the machine?
Yep.
That's what the sound of the machine when it starts drawing air. So I don't let it, it actually shuts down on its own. That's what it just did. It sensed that it had air, so the machine shut down. So we have a very full tank of sap here.
Woo! Can't get any more full than that. So this is the intake hose for the raw sap.
Yep.
With the screen on the bottom.
So again, always make sure that your screen is on the tube. Put it in your sap. And away we go. Hold the green button until it takes off on its own. Hopefully you can see these lights. This light will come on immediately. This light will come on after it has a steady flow of sap. See, if I let go now, it stops. So there it goes. At that point there, I can let go of the button.
Okay. And what are these other gauges doing? Anything else that we should look at?
Not really. You see a lot of air right now because there was air from me pulling that tube out of that tank. Some air got mixed in. You heard it in the pump just now. And you'll see before long there will be no more air going through that flow meter. Again, watch your pressures, and you're just going to keep on running. And before you know it, that tank will be empty. And then we have two more small tanks that we have to empty out of that trailer. So,
okay.
That's it.
Hey Jim, you still taking a hydrometer test?
Not very often. It's been probably an hour and a half since I did a hydrometer sample, but I just want to make sure we're on the right track. So we're still we're at about 8.5 now. So with this scummy late season sap, things are fatiguing slightly, but the amount of sap processing through the machine in a given amount of time is the same. That stayed the same. There could be a different sugar content in this new tank as well, but our sugar concentration went from about 9.5% to 8.5%.
Okay.
Still very strong. Still unbelievable, actually. It makes such a difference. Okay, we're out of sap. In addition to what we started with, I think we had 23-something hundred gallons, 2,300 something. We got a couple more trucks of sap in. We kind of lost track of the sap that actually went through the machine today. Somewhere just under 3,000 gallons. And the machine was still cycling at about the same rate as when we started. Our concentration fell from about 9.5% to 8.5% sometime around midday. But then we got some higher quality sap in, less aged, and it went right back up to 9.5%. Production rate stayed high. Let me show you part of the reason that this machine is superior to some of the other ones. This machine has a recirculation pump, a dedicated recirculation pump. Its only job is to flush a high volume of sap across the membrane at all times, just constantly flushing. That keeps the bacteria from following your membrane during a long day of concentrating like what we just are finishing up with. And I'll show you where that is. This is the recirculation pump here. Its sole purpose is to flush that membrane. So when you're looking for a high productivity reverse osmosis system, look for that. That's a symbol of quality and forethought in what it does. But anyway, our machine shut off on its own just about 2 minutes ago. It ran out of sap, so it shut down on its own. We only have a couple minutes to get that thing flushing some permeate to keep the membrane from following in a semi-permanent way. So now we have this tank full of permeate. We ran maybe 400 gallons of permeate on the ground. We also have this tank full of permeate and this tank full of permeate. So let's get that started. So what we're going to do is we're gonna, this is all Permeate here, just beautiful clean water. What we're going to do is we're going to flush Permeate for a period of about a half hour, and then we're going to do a wash cycle. So I'm going to flush it with our same filter, our pre-filter in here. I'm going to flush it with that same filter in right now. Holding that button until the recirculation pump kicks in. Then it takes off on its own. Now, my concentrate hose is still going into my concentrate container. And I'm doing that because the machine is still full of concentrate, so why not flush that material out of the system? I still remember when Angela and I had 24 taps, and I can't get over how valuable sap was back then, so I don't like to waste sap even today. That stuck with me. So we're going to flush all the sugar out of this machine. And I'm going to do what we did when we first started up, when we had the cup and the long sap hydrometer, and we kept on doing hydrometer tests until we detected that we had sugar. I'm going to do that in reverse now. I'm going to keep on testing this material until I detect that we don't have sugar. Then I'm going to take this hose and just discharge it onto the ground. It's of no value to us. So I'm going to get started on that right now. Let's catch up in a little bit when we do a wash cycle.
We've flushed the sugar out of the system.
Yep, flushed everything out. So now we are still drawing the Permeate out of this tank, just like we were when we were last on. So we're drawing our Permeate out of there through the machine, still capturing some of that liquid, the Permeate coming out of the machine. We're still storing it because Larry wants to have as much as possible. We're done here. Pretty much throughout Wisconsin, we're done. We're calling it a season. So he's going to save as much of this Permeate for cleaning everything as he can, because it is very valuable. It's completely mineral deprived water. It's hungry. It's good for cleaning. It's hungry for minerals. It's very, very good for cleaning. At the moment, we're warming up our wash liquid. If you want to walk around with me. We have this tank heater in here. We're just warming up our wash water to a temperature around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we're going to mix in our detergent. And we're going to do a wash cycle. So,
does the heater come with it?
The heater does not come with it, no. Any means you have of getting your wash water up to around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, however you want to do that. Some people will actually use the Permeate coming out of their hood and preheater. That's essentially the same material. It's distilled water essentially, and it's warm. So they'll use that. They'll mix some of that in to bring the tank up to the proper temperature. So you don't always need a tank heater, but in this case it's easiest. Okay, so we've cycled through about 150 gallons of Permeate, and that took maybe 20 minutes. And now we're going to do a wash. We have our wash tank warmed up. We're going to put all three lines in there. We're going to put our suction line in, our intake line. We're going to put in our Permeate line and our concentrate line. They're all going to go in there, and we're just going to mix and mix and mix. First thing I'm going to do, we're up to temperature here. We're going to unplug our tank heater. I'm going to put in 400 milliliters of the BioClean. 400 milliliters. Pour it in. And I always rinse out the cup. Now, crucially, come around the other side.
How did you know how much water to put in here?
There's a mark on the side of the fill tank.
Oh, you did.
I'm not even sure how many gallons it is. I believe it's 15 gallons, but there's a mark on the side that filled up to.
Okay.
Now, very important. Remember that wash filter that I took out this morning?
Yes.
Time to put it back in.
So you have an RO filter and a wash filter.
Yeah, but this one's start from scratch all the time. This one we'll never use again. It's. I'm gonna put my wash filter back in. our permeate line. Here's our concentrate line. They're all in there. We're making sure that our feed line, our suction line, is down in the water so it can draw. We're going to start it up. We're going to rinse this for about 45 minutes, half hour to 45 minutes, and we'll report back later. Okay, we're finishing up our wash cycle now. I am going to pull out the permeate and the concentrate lines, and I'm going to lay them on the ground and let the wash tank pump out. I'm going to leave the suction, the feed line, I'm going to leave that in the tank. I'm going to pull out the concentrate and permeate lines in order to drain that tank. Shouldn't take very long. There's those two lines. And they are going to run until that wash tank is empty, and that's only going to take a little bit.
So we started at 10:30 this morning, and what time is it now?
I believe it is maybe pushing 9 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock p.m. at the moment.
And we ran about...
just under 3,000 gallons of sap through the machine.
Okay. That gives us a pretty good idea of time.
Yeah, and we turned Larry's, let's just say, 2,900 or 2,950 gallons of sap into somewhere around 600 gallons of concentrated sap, and we saved him
days
of boiling. So now we're cleaning up, and we're gonna head out of here. So we'll touch base probably one more time before we load the machine up and head out, but we're going to bring the machine back home. So by the time we're done now, what we're going to do when the machine shuts off, when it runs out of the liquid in that wash tank, we are going to cycle through maybe another 200 gallons of permeate. That sets the machine in a position where it's ready to process more sap next week, 2 weeks from now, whenever it might be. But we're done for the season, as we said. So we're going to bring this machine home. We're going to do an acid wash and we're going to do an acid wash, and we're going to do a preservative wash. So it's going to sit that way then until next season when we run the machine again. So now let's take our suction out of the wash tank, put it in permeate. Okay, now we're going to run another couple hundred gallons of permeate through it, and we're going to call it a day. We're done. We ran another 100 gallons, 150 gallons of permeate through. Time to disconnect some hoses and load it up.
To learn more about the MemPro 350H or any other MemPro Tech reverse osmosis system, please visit smokylakemaple.com or call us at 920-202-4500. You've been watching Smoky Lake Maple Products, and this is what it boils down to.